Rooster Nation, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, I want to talk about a lesson that I've learned around marketing. For the longest time, I believed that in order for my brand to be successful, I needed to spend a ton of money on marketing. I thought that if I could only raise money, if I could only get the best product photography, the best videography, and then spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on digital ads, my problems would be solved. My brand would take off. I'd be the next Halo Top. I'd be the next RX bar. I'd be the next Chobani. I'd be killing it. But I've learned that there was a real fundamental fallacy in my thinking, and that is really not the case. And I've had to kind of go through some motions to kind of come to this conclusion and really understand that. To start, as I mentioned, that was my whole MO. I really thought I needed that. I was out there trying to raise money, and I was unsuccessful at my first attempt. I went really hard at pitching different angel groups and different VCs, and I just realized that it wasn't going to happen for me, and I had to go back to the drawing board and put my company in a better position to raise money. But at first, I really thought the game was over for me because I wasn't going to have the money to invest in marketing and make it happen. But what changed for me is I looked around at all the other brands in the space. And I looked at my social media feeds and my Instagram feeds, and I noticed something in common. That so many brands are getting the best creative out there. They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in creative, and then hundreds of thousands of dollars on top of that, distributing that top-of-the-line creative across all their social channels and all their platforms. They work with all the top influencers. They have all the best placements in the store. And something still isn't working for them, right? Because I meet these brands at networking events, at different, industry functions, and I start talking with them. And a lot of times it's not necessarily the owner of the brand or the founder, but it'll be people who are working there. They're working in marketing, they're working in customer service, and I'll chat them up about their experience. And this might be a big brand. They're in a couple thousand points of distribution. Again, all the best advertising. You'd think they were really successful. And they're telling me that the velocities aren't really there, that they're still struggling with all the same things that I'm struggling with. They're in all these stores. They got a lot of people focused on the marketing effort, a lot of people focused on the sales effort, and the velocities aren't there. And I think, what is causing that? And it made me really question my whole strategy and my whole marketing MO of the fact that, I need to raise money to be successful. I need to spend a lot of money to be successful. And I have really decided to buck that wisdom and try to come up with an outside-of-the-box strategy and tactics to build my brand and make an authentic connection with consumers. And, that's kind of what got me to this point of doing the podcast, doing the YouTube channel, posting on all my social accounts every day, but posting a content that I create myself, content that I think people find interesting, and hopefully that provides value to the end consumers or other business owners or whoever it might be. The jury's still out on if it's going to be effective, but what I can tell you is that I've really digested this lesson of that throwing money at marketing is not the solution. It's not going to solve your velocity problems, and we're all in the same boat about we need a different marketing mix to connect with the consumer in a real authentic way and get them invested in the product, behind the product, telling their friends about it. And just throwing money at marketing is not going to get you there. I really do think that I had to go through the motions in order to come to that conclusion, because it's very different than the conventional wisdom I am receiving from industry veterans. I talk to people all the time. Especially, I'll be totally honest, as I have this problem. I'm in 600 stores. In most of these stores, I just got there, and I'm on the bottom shelf, and no one knows about me. And I'm behind a freezer door, and the velocities aren't taking off. The velocities aren't great. How do I solve this problem? And everyone has the same version. They have a different version of the same answer, right? Which is, you need to do more demos. You need to spend more on digital marketing. You got to do more creative. All of those solutions, you got to do Ibotta, digital coupons, more couponing. All of these solutions cost money. And yes, I think they're all part of the marketing mix, especially as you get bigger. But when you're a small brand trying to figure it out, throwing money at marketing just isn't going to do it alone. You have to think outside the box. You have to come up with a way to connect with consumers authentically. My answer to this problem is exactly what you see here. I've turned the camera around. I'm talking about my problems. I'm trying to be real with the, LinkedIn business community about what I'm trying to do, how I'm trying to build my business. I'm doing a lot of stuff on the Instagram where I'm showing all the different recipes. I'm trying to work with, micro influencers who aren't going to charge me to promote my product. They just want to, do recipe exchange, or they're trying to build their own influencing business, and they're happy to post about Rooster and Lark for free and tell their followers about it. And that is the strategy that I'm trying to take. And it's different. It's harder. It's a slog. It's a lot of work. Editing and distributing these videos, it's way harder than spending $100,000 on creative and spending another $200,000 on distributing that creative. But I have no other answers. I got to try something different. And I know deep down that, if I had been successful at raising money, I would have gone out and spent God knows how much on great photos, great videos, another couple $100,000 on marketing it on social media, and I would have been dead in the water. I have learned from watching other brands go through these emotions and find themselves in a really, really bad position. They've overspent on marketing. The velocities aren't there, and they start to run out of money, and, it's time to move on and close the company down. So again, I don't know if this is the right answer. You can tell me, let me know in the comments, but I will tell you that just throwing money at marketing is not going to solve your problem. If you think if you could only raise money and only spend more money on marketing, that your brand will take off, you are mistaken, because you need to look around and you need to see all the companies that are doing that and recognize that they are not necessarily in a better position than you are. Anyone can go buy the best packaging, anyone can go buy the best advertising, but there is no guarantees that it leads to increased velocities, which is what we are all chasing. So, Rooster Nation, LinkedIn community, fellow brand owners, keep that in mind. And as you think about your marketing mix, question what it is you're going to do with that money that you're going to raise, and if that alone is really going to help you take off and get to the next level. So those are my thoughts today. Just thinking about, kind of what I've learned, how I've gotten here, and how, being unsuccessful at fundraising was definitely hard for me at first, but I ultimately think it was one of the best things that's happened to me, because it forced me to learn how to do all of this and speak to the consumers directly, speak to Rooster Nation directly, and try and build excitement about the brand that way. So, keep that in mind. Let me know your thoughts, and looking forward to catching up with Rooster Nation next time. All right, take it easy. We'll see you later.
Rooster and Lark.